After closing hours, they would sit under the mango tree on the school field, holding hands and sharing dreams of the future. Tony would wait patiently by the riverbank while Gako fetched water for her mother, and when harvest came, Gako was by Tony's side on his father's yam farm. They'd both carry yams in baskets on their heads, walking side by side along the bush footpaths, their laughter echoing into the hearts of passers-by. Everything went as planned. Lazuzu and his gang robbed them at midnight. Muka cried like a baby. Kusa fainted. Gako and Tony pretended to be heartbroken. The next morning, they packed what little they could into small bags. Without informing neighbors, they disappeared from Sagba, the son who taught the father a lesson. Before you go too far, quickly hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our deep African tales packed with lessons, emotions, and real-life wisdom. Now, sit tight and journey with us into the land of Sagba, where love, sacrifice, and destiny collided in one unforgettable story. In the quiet village of Sagba, under the shadows of palm trees and whispering bamboo, lived two lovers whose story warmed the hearts of everyone who knew them. Gako and Tony. Their love began like the early morning dew, gentle, fresh, and sincere. They were childhood friends who later became sweethearts in secondary school. After closing hours, they would sit under the mango tree on the school field, holding hands and sharing dreams of the future. Tony would wait patiently by the riverbank while Gako fetched water for her mother, and when harvest came, Gako was by Tony's side on his father's yam farm. They'd both carry yams in baskets on their heads, walking side by side along the bush footpaths, their laughter echoing into the hearts of passers-by. If Gako was found plaiting her hair under the shade of a neem tree, Tony would be there, sitting beside her, humming softly and making jokes that made her laugh and lean on his shoulder. When they both finished secondary school, they chased higher dreams. Tony studied business administration, while Gako studied English education. Life was beginning to shape beautifully. After graduation, Gako managed a private school while Tony ran a growing palm oil export business. The village of Sagba celebrated the day they tied the knot. It was like royalty getting married. But 2 years into their marriage, there was no child. The joy of marriage felt incomplete. Gako cried silently in her room at night, and Tony would pretend to be strong, but deep inside, he was shattered. After months of prayers, discussions, and consultations, they both agreed to adopt a child. A baby boy. They named him Kusa. Kusa was a blessing in every sense. Chubby, respectful, hardworking, and obedient. He swept the compound, washed plates, fetched water, and helped with cooking. Neighbors adored him. They would say, "This child is not from your blood, but he's surely from your heart." Gako and Tony were proud. When Kusa turned 6, something unexpected happened. Gako became pregnant. Tony almost danced out of his skin with joy. When the 9 months were completed, a bouncing baby boy was born. They named him Muka. From day one, Muka was given everything the world could offer: best clothes, best toys, best schools. But unlike Kusa, Muka had a spirit that was hard to manage. He was stubborn, lazy, and proud. House chores? He ran from them like fire. Instructions? He ignored them like whispers in a storm. While Kusa did all the work, Muka did all the complaining. As they both grew into adulthood, the difference between the two brothers became clear. Kusa, who had now graduated from the university, joined his father's palm oil business. He was always at the shop, serving customers with a smile and supervising workers with dedication. But Muka, after studying education, chose to work in the same school his mother managed. Gako had high hopes. Maybe teaching would discipline her son. She placed him in charge of the school's financial department. But instead of responsibility, Muka chose recklessness. He began to squander the school funds. Every time money was missing, it was Muka's handwriting. He would be seen at nightclubs, drinking and partying with bad friends, living wild while the school suffered. Gako and Tony tried everything, advice, discipline, even prayers, but Muka wouldn't listen. Their once happy home became filled with sleepless nights and silent tears. Kusa would look at his parents and feel helpless. How could one child bring so much sorrow? Then one night, Tony couldn't sleep. He sat up on the bed, his thoughts racing. An idea came to him, radical but wise. He woke Gako and shared it. They would stage a fake robbery. Tony would contact his old-time rascal friend, Lazuzu, and they would act like armed robbers. They would storm the house, steal everything in front of the boys, and make it look real. After that, the family would move far away and start afresh, leaving behind their riches, their pride, and their comfort to teach Muka and Kusa the true meaning of life. Gako agreed, with tears in her eyes. It was hard, but it was necessary. Everything went as planned. Lazuzu and his gang robbed them at midnight. Muka cried like a baby. Kusa fainted. Gako and Tony pretended to be heartbroken. The next morning, they packed what little they could into small bags. Without informing neighbors, they disappeared from Sagba. They moved to a strange land, where no one knew them. A slum, filled with struggling faces and broken dreams. But Gako and Tony were not broken. They were determined to fix their family. They told their children they were now poor and must learn to survive. Muka was the most devastated. He couldn't believe the life of luxury was over. He sat under trees, mumbling, "No more parties, no more money. How did this happen?" Kusa, surprisingly, was the first to rise. With nothing in his pockets but dignity in his heart, he began doing labor work, digging ridges, pushing wheelbarrows, carrying loads. Every evening, he brought home food. Gako watched in silence. Her eyes welled up with joy. Muka tried to follow, but his laziness betrayed him. Farmers shouted at him. Some pitied him and paid him half. He would return home, ashamed, only to find Kusa cleaning the compound and helping Gako cook. Then something shifted. Slowly, Muka began to change. Kusa, instead of mocking him, encouraged him. "No shame in sweat, brother," he said one day, handing him his extra shirt. That moment struck Muka deeply. One day, Kusa bought 2 wheelbarrows. One for himself, one for Muka. They began selling fruits and vegetables, moving from street to street. They laughed again. Not because of wealth, but because they found purpose. The 2 brothers became close. Muka began to love work. He now woke before dawn, cleaned the house, and helped with meals. He had transformed. Gako and Tony watched from their small window every morning and smiled. Their plan was working. After years of struggle, their business grew. Muka started selling farm tools and became successful. Kusa opened his own shop in another town and also prospered. Together, they built their parents a new house in the same strange land that once mocked them. Then came Christmas. A family gathering. Food was plenty. Laughter filled the air. That night, Gako and Tony shared their secret. How they had staged the robbery to save their sons. Kusa sat in silence for a moment. Then he stood, walked over to his parents, and knelt. "Thank you," he said, eyes filled with tears. "You didn't just give us life, you taught us how to live it." Muka followed. He held his mother's hand and kissed it. "I was lost, but you found me," he whispered. And so, the family that once lived in comfort broke themselves to build something stronger: character, unity, and purpose. If you've learned something from this tale, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Let someone else hear the story of Kasu and Muka and be reminded that sometimes love disciplines and sacrifice saves. Subscribe now to Folktale, where we don't just tell stories, we pass down wisdom. See you in the next one.